On this episode of the Bell Gossett podcast, we check in with Xylem's headmaster, Mike Licastro from Little Red Schoolhouse, and we discuss what engineers are looking for in training, and we talk about young engineers. So let's go take a listen on why training is so important to the industry and some of the industry changes that have gone on at the Little Red Schoolhouse. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in for sure. I wanted to talk about the Little Red Schoolhouse. I had heard, and I know that there's been some murmurings that there was a renovation that was recently done. Can you expand about that? And how hard was it? I mean, it's an icon in the industry. What does that really look like? What does it look like now? Is there some releases that's going to come out? Help me out with that.
So the schoolhouse itself, we just finished a major renovation. The concept was started back in 2016 when we recognized that all of the social media and all of the tools available today, there was many more opportunities for people to get information in the industry. And so we wanted to make sure that we stayed out in front of that. I mean, as you know, we opened up the schoolhouse in 1954, and our focus there was providing education and training that was, free of sales and marketing influence. And we still stand by that today. And so the issue is that we have to make sure we can deliver that level of training at all different social media and opportunities. So when we looked at revamping the schoolhouse, we did it two ways. One is, how do we make sure that we have all the audio-visual tools today such that we can do WebEx's, webinars, anything like that. We're doing our e-learning site on our website so that we're doing videos that way. And then our displays, that's one of the things we take pride in, is the fact that you come to the Little Red Schoolhouse, we're giving you some seat time with education through PowerPoint presentations, and we're also giving you out-of-seat time where you can see a lot of our live demonstrations and actually put into practice and operation what we just taught them. So one of the things that we focused on is that, we've got a lot of new technology that's out there, and we decided that we needed to put some additional displays into the schoolhouse for that technology. And so that's some of the new additions that we've got. One of our key things is our plumbing display area. That's all new for us. But we've also made enhancements to our steam and hydronic training displays as well. So it was a 2-year process. It definitely was. It was a process. We had the original plan, and as we went through, we saw where we could make some improvements, and we implemented those changes. And in April of 2019, we hosted our first session in the newly renovated schoolhouse.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, I've always looked at the Little Red Schoolhouse and known it. As you mentioned, it's been around for a long time. I mean, D&G's been around for 100 plus years. It's got the icon in the industry of knowing systems and hydronics. I got to say, I really like the idea of the seat time, understanding it from a systems perspective, not necessarily product driven, but obviously you're in the Bell Gossett Schoolhouse. And then you get the opportunity to get out and look and use the display walls to put your hands on it and really, really touch it and understand it. That seems to be pretty valuable nowadays for sure. It's interesting. And you mentioned a few things in there I wanted to expand upon a little bit on the training. So how do you think this training in the commercial HVAC industry has changed in the last, say, 3, 5, 10 years? I feel like there's been a giant shift with technology and YouTube and all that stuff. And what do you see?
Well, I mean, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, there's so many avenues in which information can be obtained. And so, in the last 5 years, it's a lot of what I refer to as instant gratification, right? I need to understand, how does a pump work? I need to be able to get to that information within 5 to 10 minutes. How can I get there? Do I go on the internet? Do I have an app on my phone? Is there an e-learning site somewhere where I can go watch a video? We recognize that, and so our marketing teams, our engineering teams, we got together and we created the necessary information in the right formats so that no matter who it was and how they needed to get it, we had it somewhere for them. And that's, I will say this, I stand by the fact that our in-house classes here at the Little Red Schoolhouse are still our most popular and demanded resource for training and education. But for those that need it at 10 o'clock at night when they're working on a project, having the e-learning sites, having the technical manuals available on our website, downloadable PDH files, greatly appreciated. Positive feedback from all of our customers.
That's awesome to hear, actually. So let me expand a little bit more on some of that. So, obviously moving into the future, and we both know, and we've talked a number of times about how hydronics is one of the most efficient systems out there for HVAC designers. What's your vision for Little Red Schoolhouse moving forward? Where do you see it going in the future and implementing a few things to help bring that education to the market?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm focused on here at the schoolhouse is when you look at our classes, generally speaking, we have a class of, let's say, 40 to 45 people. We generally have all the project stakeholders in the room, an engineer, an owner, a contractor, whatever it may be. And so for me, coming from a sales background, as you know, I was a rep for Bell Gossett for 18 years, so I've been out there selling and troubleshooting and all that good stuff, is, that level of communication, having and bridging that level of communication so that all the stakeholders truly understand what each is contributing to the project. To me, that brings that ultimate one-time, right through the process, project completion, the way it should have been done, operating correctly and efficiently. So here in the schoolhouse, what I encourage discussion and not just lecture. And having the operating displays here and looking at where we're going in the future, what I fully expect is that we will continue to evolve with the industry and making it available to the students when they arrive. That's where we're looking to stay on top of our game.
All right, so let me ask this question because I'm sure a lot of listeners are thinking this too, because education obviously is key, and sometimes travel becomes a little bit restrictive, and like you mentioned online, it's helpful. Have you guys looked or exploring using augmented reality or virtual reality for some of the trainings and kind of implementing that into the curriculum?
Absolutely. So augmented reality is something I know that we're using in our marketing group, and the Little Red Schoolhouse, we're looking to take advantage of some of that. From a virtual reality standpoint, we are in the process currently of developing a virtual reality mechanical room. And the idea behind that is that we're here teaching the students on system design and how to properly apply and size product. And so what we want to be able to do is at the end of the session is now get them out of their seat, get them into the mechanic room and say, okay, you're in the field. You just designed the system. There's your drawing. How do you put it all together? So we're looking to kind of expand on stuff like that. We want to get them more of a feel of involvement and what really happens out in the field relative to what we're training them here. So, yeah, we're excited to definitely use the virtual reality and augmented reality to enhance the training.
I see that as such a huge benefit. I mean, you mentioned it as getting it, from paper to actual, to reality is really challenging sometimes. And what I see a lot of challenges in the field is, well, I designed it this way, but the contractor ended up putting 5 more elbows in there than what was on the design. And why did we do that? Well, it was because of something didn't get put in place correctly, and now we got to figure out how we fix the issue. So I think bringing that augmented reality or virtual reality in is really going to help drive a lot of that understanding and really implementation. I went to school for engineering, you did as well, and even I like to pick engineers. We like to design things and say, well, this is the way it should work, and the reality is it doesn't work that way sometimes. I mean, every one of these commercial buildings, when you're really out in the field, is a custom thing, living and breathing for sure. So I'm excited to hear about that one. I'm sure everyone that's listening is as well. So let's talk about a few other things here. I want to talk about the Mike Licastro. What would you say you bring to the Little Red Schoolhouse? I mean, you got a diverse and extensive background. I think you are phenomenal in bringing that to the Little Red Schoolhouse. What would you say? I mean, you bring a lot of information and background. What could you help share with the students? And I'm sure you learn from them quite a bit, and it kind of goes both ways. But yeah, expand upon that a little bit.
Sure. As I mentioned, first and foremost, is I encourage our classes to be a discussion, not a lecture. And, my background, again, being a manufacturer's rep for Bell Gossett for 18 years, being out in the field, I've had the opportunity to work with all levels of stakeholders on projects, in good times and in bad times, right? And you're often judged on how you perform when things are going wrong than when everything's going smoothly. And so that experience for me is that now when I come into the classroom and I'm training these individuals, I'm not just saying, okay, so you should connect this T to this pipe and put this valve here for this reason. I'm also kind of giving them the feedback of, okay, well, here's what we've seen when it's done wrong. So bringing that practical experience, it helps in the discussion because, then I can relate to them. And at the same time, they're saying, well, hey, yeah, that's great, but here's what we've done to solve that. So like you said, it's that exchange of knowledge which helps us to further enhance what we're teaching classes to come. Certainly, again, with an engineering background and having worked at a manufacturer's level as well. And, one of our other instructors here, Stan Cute, my partner, was a product line manager for several years. So between the two of us, we bring a very good balance to the class, such that any questions that may be asked, one of us has the ability to provide a practical and historical answer to that. And I think that's something where we set ourselves apart from maybe some of the other companies out there that are doing some training where it may be strictly factory people that have moved into an instructor role.
Yeah, no, I that sounds great actually, and that kind of tees into my next question is what, when you're seeing the individuals that come through the schoolhouse, I mean, I had heard numbers upwards of the schoolhouse has trained 60,000 engineers out there. And I started to think about this more. We're at a point in our industry where we're starting to see a transition. And we're seeing a transition, and I was curious if you see it with the training portion of it, where, there was a lot of older engineers, from a transition perspective that did design, were trained by the Little Red Schoolhouse. Are you starting to see the transition of younger engineers coming through the schoolhouse and getting trained? Are you seeing that transition as well? Are you seeing some repeat, engineers coming through as a refresher? What does that look like?
Well, actually, you hit the nail on the head in the sense that we're seeing both. I can say that in the last year and a half that we've been doing some classes here that I've been back at Bell and Gossett with the schoolhouse, I have seen a lot of students that are first and second year out of college, just hired, and their employers automatically sent them to the Little Red Schoolhouse to get the hydronic and steam training. But I've also had the opportunity to talk to some gentlemen and some other individuals that have been in the industry for 25 and 30 years, and it's refreshing. They want to come back. There's some things that they may have forgotten, but they also recognize that with the evolution of new technology that's out there and the demands that's being put on the industry, not only from energy savings but also from the responsible use of our natural resources, they recognize that there are advancements that they need to stay up on. So it's great because we have a fantastic collaboration of the young and the old exchanging knowledge. And so you know how it is. They always talk about that when our generation retires, that knowledge goes with them. Well, by having them here in the schoolhouse together, we're able to allow them to capture that knowledge before it leaves the industry. And we've seen some great responses to that here at the schoolhouse.
That's great to hear. I mean, that sounds like you mentioned before, there's a lot of collaboration that happens in the classrooms. And as good as online training is for that individual that's there at 10 o'clock at night trying to get a quick answer and understanding, it really sounds like there should be a big push in the industry to get the younger engineers to the schoolhouse to make sure they have that collaboration. I mean, it just sounds like it's going to make those younger engineers more efficient when they're really thinking about these jobs from a hydronic opportunity and trying to make that most efficient system for their end user or their client. It really sounds like that's the case. So let me ask you this then, through all the training that has gone on in the year, I mean, I'm sure you're fairly busy with classrooms that come about, you and Stan both. Are you seeing an uptick in class sizes? Are they starting to grow substantially? I mean, it sounds like every time I talk to you, you're a fairly busy individual. So are you seeing that come through?
Absolutely. So we just recently, with the introduction of our fourth quarter schedule for 2019, launched our new registration tool. And so now the students have the ability to go to our website, find the classes they're looking for, and actually register themselves right there at the website. As you know, we typically set our max student size for each class at 40 individuals. We are quickly filling those up and creating wait lists that sometimes are 5 to 10 students deep. So the demand is there, no doubt about it, and we're trying to make sure that we can get each individual who's interested into a class some way, somehow, and that may be upping the number of classes we offer per quarter in order to accommodate that. These are all things that we're currently considering. But as I said earlier, the demand for these classes and the in-school training is by far our highest demand education opportunity.
That's awesome. I mean, that's extremely great to hear that there's such a need in the industry, and obviously the individuals wanting to come to the schoolhouse for sure. I mean, it's in a great location right there by Chicago, obviously. Well, let me ask you this, and kind of thinking through this, with all these younger individuals and the engineering community, what if you were, with everything you've seen, could you offer some advice to the engineering community moving forward in the future? I mean, what would it be? I mean, if you could pinpoint it, and it may not be pinpointing it to one thing, but what's missing? What do you think we, if you could give that advice, what would it look like?
Well, for me, when I talk to the young engineers that come through here, my advice to them is always this, is that when you are offered the opportunity to get high-level training, take it. Okay? The more knowledge that you carry, the more valuable resource you become in the industry. And, the fact that you have chosen the HVAC industry, you are an industry that will always be in demand. There will always be, as an evolution of technology and ways of doing things, there will always be a need for heating and cooling in our industry, and also for process as well. And so I always encourage them. And the other thing I always encourage is that take advantage of those around you who have knowledge and history in the industry. Absorb like a sponge everything you can before it's too late.
That's hands down one of the best answers. I couldn't agree with you more. 100%. Really, really think it's important. I'm glad to hear that it's filling up faster than we have classes. That just means that there's a growing need for the education, which is great to hear too. I want to invite all the listeners to go to the Bell & Gossett website, sign up for training before the classes fill up, get a chance to sit down and pick Mike and Stan's brain. I think it's a great opportunity for high-level education. And please stay tuned for listening for additional podcasts that are going to be coming out. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the time.
All right, Kyle. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.